In this video, you will learn how to configure stack between two Huawei CloudEngine S5700-H series switches using service ports as a stack connectivity. We will be using Huawei S5732-H 24UM2CC switch for stack configuration example. This switch has 24 multi-GE, 425GE, and 240GE service interfaces. On this model, all these service interfaces support stacking feature. This means we can use any of these interfaces as stack connectivity between two switches. Here we will use 25GE0/0/1 interface as stack connectivity between two switches. Each switch has two stack ports. Note, stack port 1 of a switch should be connected to stack port 2 on another switch. This means we will configure service interface 25GE0/0/1 on switch 1 as stack port 1, while same service interface on switch 2 will be configured as stack port 2. By default, each switch has slot ID 0, stack priority 100, and master stack role. This is before we create a stack. When configuring stack, the switch with highest stack priority will become the master. So on switch with slot ID 0, we need to change the priority to a higher value than default value 100. The command, stack slot 0 priority 200, will change the stack priority on the switch having stack ID 0, as both switches have same slot ID by default. So on second switch, we need to change the slot member ID to 1. The command, stack slot 0 renumber 1, will change the slot ID from 0 to 1. The change will take effect only after rebooting the switch. After configuring the stack interfaces, switch with higher stack priority of 200 will become master switch, and switch with lower stack priority of 100 will become standby switch. Now let's configure stack. On left side, console is connected to switch 1, which need to be master. On right side, console is connected to switch 2, which need to be standby switch. The command, display version, shows the switch's model number. The command, display interface brief, shows the interface's status. There are 24 multi-GE interfaces, 425GE interfaces, and 240GE interfaces. The command, display stack, shows the status of stack on both switches. By default, both switches have slot ID 0, priority 100, and stack role of master. This is before we have configure stack. Now, let's configure stack on switch 1. The command, stack slot 0 priority 200, will change the stack priority of switch 1 to 200. Then we will configure interface stack port 0/1 and enable the 25GE0/0/1 interface to be used as stack interface. Stack configuration on switch 1 has been completed. The command, display stack, shows that stack priority of switch 1 has been now 200. The command, display stack port, shows that 25GE0/0/1 has been used as stack port 0/1 and its status is up. Now, let's configure stack on switch 2. As both switches have same slot ID of 0, so we need to change the slot ID of switch 2. The command, stack slot 0 renumber 1, will change the slot ID from 0 to 1. However, this change will affect only after reboot. Reboot the switch and wait for switch 2 to reboot. The command, display interface brief, shows that all the interface's name has been changed from 0 to 1. For example, the service interface on switch 2 is 25GE1/0/1. This service interface will be used for stack connectivity. The command, display stack, shows that stack slot ID of switch 2 has been changed to 1. Now, switch 1 has slot ID 0, and switch 2 has slot ID 1. Let's configure stack interface on switch 2. We will configure stack port 1/2 and enable service interface 25GE1/0/1 to be used as stack interface. Once stack port will be configured, switch 2 will get reboot automatically. This is because switch 2 stack priority is low and it will reboot to join the stack on master switch 1. After reboot, log into the Switch 2. Check stack using command, display stack. Both switches have been successfully stacked with each other.